Welcome to Opposition Territory here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. Got a great Opposition Territory show coming your way. It is our Eagles Buccaneers Preview Podcast. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. Coming to us from A to Z Sports. Catch everything they're doing at atozsports.com. Our good friend Evan Winter. Buddy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Week 4 is here. We're trucking right along, and couldn't be better. So life is good.
I tell you, these two teams playing some, I don't want to say lights out football. I mean, the Bucs are playing some pretty good football. The Eagles have gotten, I hate to use the word luck, but certain things have certainly fallen their way, whether it's a blocked field goal from this past week. You mentioned right before we hit the record button, our defensive linemen seem to be a little bit faster than a couple of our tight ends. It just happened to be that guy that picked up the ball and went right into the end zone. But man, what an amazing season so far for these two teams.
Yeah, 3-0, and they've both, as you just said, have had their fair share of highlights along the way. I mean, all three of Tampa Bay's wins have literally come within the last minute of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know what the record is after last week, but going into week 2, there's only been one other team to do what they've done in terms of coming back and winning in the final minute since the NFL merger. So, just crazy stuff. And hopefully Tampa Bay can get a little healthier. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but hopefully they can get just a little bit healthier to make this, an even more exciting game. But I know a lot of Eagles fans are thinking about last year and sitting there saying, hey, we didn't have AJ, we didn't have Devontae, we didn't have Lane Johnson. So if y'all are missing some key pieces, you're going to have to deal with it too, and we'll just see what happens. So
absolutely. Look, you mentioned right off the bat, I mean, this is going to be a matchup of undefeated teams heading into week 4 here. The Eagles have dropped 3 of their last 4 games at Raymond James Stadium down there in Tampa Bay. So I want to get into this Buccaneers season first here, Evan, in terms of like what we've really seen from them after 3 weeks. So it's a 2-part question to start us off. First, what has been the biggest strength of this Bucs team after 3 weeks of play? And then we'll get into, what the weakness is as well. But start us off with the biggest strength so far.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you 2 things here real quick. I'm going to split the answer in half. And number 1 is the resiliency. I'm going to take a little bit of an abstract here.
Okay.
Their resiliency. I mean, it's just off the charts right now. Again, just talked about the comeback wins, but they've been doing this with, my goodness, including Tristan Wirfs last week. They were missing 4 starting offensive linemen going into that Jets game. The 2 guards that they started last week, Elijah Klein had only 9 offensive snaps coming into that game. Luke Haggard never played an offensive snap in his entire – hadn't even been on an active roster for a week yet. He was a practice squad guy.
Yep.
So, and they struggled in the beginning, but they kind of adjusted as the game went on. It wasn't perfect by any means, but they held up. And so just things like that. Obviously, Baker Mayfield making just crazy clutch plays when it matters most, when the team needs them most. And Emeka Egbuka just completely lifting the standard that surrounds rookies. I mean, Todd Bowles said yesterday, they don't even look at him like a rookie, and it's easy to see why. So the resiliency of this team right now is just off the charts. They still haven't developed this killer instinct that Todd Bowles has talked about all offseason. And we saw that against the Jets. I mean, we've seen it pretty much in each of these 3 games, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But resiliency is in terms of the off the field stuff, the abstract stuff. But then when it comes to just, what's on the field, is going to be the secondary. This secondary right now is playing lights out.
They are.
Yeah. And Jamel Dean is so far on pace to have the best year of his career, especially when he needs it most. Zion McCollum is playing really, really well. Antoine Winfield looks like his old self. But the biggest thing that's really helped boost the secondary coming into this year was moving Tyke Smith, last year's rookie who played nickel for them a lot. They moved him to strong safety. But they also put him at single high. They'll put him in coverage, all this other stuff. So that's really allowed Todd Bowles to mix and match certain matchups, play a lot more physical. That's one thing in drafting Jacob Parrish, who's been making a big impact. I'll talk about him here in a little bit. But Todd Bowles has really made the right moves over the offseason to put the secondary in a spot where they can press you, they can play zone whenever need be, and they can also do match coverages and things like that. And it's really worked out so far.
Secondary, we're going to get into a little bit more when we talk about the wide receivers of the Philadelphia Eagles going up against that secondary. Going to get to that in a bit. What do you find to be the weakness of this Bucs team, if there is one here after 3 weeks of play?
Yeah, it's easy to point and say the offensive line, right? But like I said, all the injuries, it's just insane what that group is going through. Honestly, if there's a weakness right now, And it's just because it's not being utilized. This is kind of unfair, but I have to say this. It's the tight ends.
I was going to say, yeah.
The tight ends have just completely disappeared from this offense. And
Otten hasn't been doing much of anything.
No, and I looked up, his usage coming into, this morning once PFF got all their stuff up. Sure, he's running the lowest amount of routes of his career. He's like at 83.4%, but
Okay.
he's only hovered around 85% most of his career. So it's not that big of a drop off. He's not sticking in pat. They're not having to, and I figured, okay, hey, with all the offensive line injuries, maybe they're keeping him in more for pass protection. Maybe they're keeping him in more to help in the running game. No, that's not the case. Both of those percentages, those rates are lower than they were last year. So I really don't know what's going on with the tight ends. That's something I was going to dig into over the course next week if it comes to fruition again this week.
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe they've just been saving the tight ends for the Eagles this week, and they're just going to let them loose. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, just right now, Cade Otton has done well blocking, and he has done okay when he has been targeted. But yeah, the tight end disappearance has just been pretty crazy to see, especially considering how effective Cade Otton was last year.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'm going to get into the quarterback position for both teams here. The type of quarterback that Baker Mayfield really has become, and also from what we have seen from Jalen Hurts as well. At this point, Baker Mayfield hasn't thrown an interception this season. He's only one of 3 quarterbacks with at least 5 passing touchdowns not to have an interception. He's actually thrown 6 touchdowns this year. We have 2 very different quarterbacks going up against each other this week here in week 4. And it's fascinating to me, and it's going to be fascinating to watch how both of these quarterbacks perform. So first up, what kind of quarterback has Baker Mayfield become here in 2025 from what you have seen, Evan?
He's become a turnover-free quarterback. I mean, that's kind of obvious when you look at the stat sheets, but
yeah,
that was the emphasis. That's when going into the season, all throughout the offseason, everybody was asking what Baker could do better, and him and Todd Bowles both had the same answer: less turnovers. So far, a goose egg throughout 3 games. Now, Rashad White bailed him out in week 2. He easily could have lost a fumble, and he got the ball knocked out of his hand last week as well. Both were recovered. But the Rashad White one, I'm sure Baker bought a mistake after that play.
Yeah.
But either way, regardless, he turnover free. And honestly, that's what the Bucs have needed. That's been huge because if you think about it, these have all been 1 possession games for them every single week. And losing out on one of those possessions, giving the other team an extra possession, could have been the difference between a win and a loss. So
yeah,
I know when you're looking at stats, we don't ever want to go box score reporting and all that other stuff, but considering the emphasis and the offseason context coming into this, and considering he tied for the NFL lead in interceptions last year, he's become a turnover-free quarterback through the first 3 weeks.
Jalen Hurts, as we know, Super Bowl MVP, certainly hasn't been a perfect season. I mean, you look at week 2, he only threw for 101 yards. And it's been up and down. The passing game certainly has been. But Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts in a lot of different ways, especially using his legs. We're going to get into the tush push, folks, in a bit. But how do you view Jalen Hurts as a quarterback here in 2025 thus far as we're looking at this game here, Evan?
Yeah, well, obviously, QB wins are a very overrated stat, right? But he's a winner, man. I mean, and when you look at 49-20 over your first 69 games, 71%, that's more than just QB wins. That means you're playing well and you're doing the right things to win games. Tom Brady, his first 69 games, 52-17. So Jalen Hurts is 3, and Tom Brady, his first few years, wasn't really known as the dude who eventually broke the NFL record for passing touchdowns in a single season eventually, right? Who threw who threw 34 touchdowns to 2 interceptions one year, whatever that crazy year was that he had.
Right.
So, I mean, he's a winner first and foremost, and that teammates feed off of that. And that allows him to become the alpha leader that you need at quarterback, and guys are going to follow his example whenever they win games with him. It's that simple. And that's it. That's the biggest thing about him. But then in terms of the tangibles, he's smart quarterback. He's efficient. I mean, you just look at it, when he sees stuff, he goes for it. For instance, the touchdown to AJ Brown last week, he immediately recognized that AJ had inside leverage, and with pressure in his face, he saw the guys coming off the right side, knew that area was open, And he just, I mean, before AJ even knew the ball was coming to, AJ was still in his route. Jalen's back there letting go of the ball, threw it right on the perfect spot where the cornerback couldn't get it. So he's a smart quarterback. He's an efficient quarterback. And he's a winner, man. So, I mean, people can yap about his box score stats, like we're just talking box score reporting.
Right.
But the Eagles are also such a well-built team. They don't need him throwing for 350 yards every game. They just don't need that. But could he go out there and do it? Hell yeah. So, I mean, it's just a combination of things with him. But ultimately, he's a very good quarterback, and he wins games.
The matchup between these two quarterbacks is going to be phenomenal, I think, here in week 4. But I want to get into some other matchups with you here, Evan. Eagles wide receivers finally had the ball being thrown to them down the field in week 3 in the second half. And we know what kind of weapons, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, even Dallas Goedert are in terms of their pass catching ability, their yards after the catch. Maybe not so much Dallas Goedert, but certainly A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The Bucs, as you were just talking about, have such a prolific secondary with a bunch of talent who've been playing lights out, like you mentioned. How do you see this matchup between the Eagles wide receivers and this Bucs secondary going this week?
Yeah, it's going to be great. The Bucs have the physical guys and fast guys in Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum to match up with AJ on the outside. What I'm going to be watching for, though, is not sure if Christian Izien or Izien, rather, sorry. It's unclear if he's going to play right now or not. He plays a lot of, if you had to put it like 60-40, whatever, probably be like 70-30 in terms of nickel snaps with Christian Izien and the rookie Jacob Parrish that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So if I had to guess, though, he's probably not going to play Izien. And now, granted, we'll find out more tomorrow, but regardless. So Jacob Parrish, either way, when he is in there, him matched up on Devonta Smith, because Devonta Smith has easily been the Eagles' main guy out of the slot so far. I mean, 92% of his targets, 14 of his 19 targets on the year have come out of the slot. It's on PFF. So that vastly outpaces everybody else. I mean, John Mechie's 2 of 2, but that's only 2 routes.
That's only 2 routes.
Yeah, exactly. So predominantly, it's going to be Devonta in the slot. I want to see what Jacob Parrish can do. Jacob Parrish can fly. He's athletic as hell. He's a great tackler. He is physical as hell. And just how the Bucs have utilized him. Just put it this way. This is a funny stat I found yesterday. Jacob Parrish right now has more sacks than Abdul Carter through 3 weeks. So
incredible.
Just how the Bucs, it's only 3 weeks, I know, but still, it's funny. A rookie corner outpacing Abdul. But anyways, how the Bucs utilize him is just it's so cool. He's pretty much Rondé Barber if Rondé Barber could run a 4.3 right now. That's how they're using him. So Jacob Parrish versus Devontae whenever they're in the slot, that's the matchup I'm going to be keying in on, because whoever wins that battle, I promise it's going to go a long way in determining who wins this game.
All right, very good. Before we go to break, again, Evan Winter from A to Z Sports, A2Zsports.com. Evan, where can folks find you on the interwebs out there if they want to follow the work you're doing?
Yeah, so I cover the Bucs for A2Zsports.com. So all you got to do is click on our NFL tab and then go to Tampa Bay if you want to find my stuff there. And then you can find me yapping all the time on Twitter at Evan_A2Z.
Very good. And you can catch us on the interwebs out there. Follow us on social media. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see all of our social media sites here. We are on Twitter /X at Philadelphia PST. You can follow me at Mr. Jeff Warren over on the TikTok. We're on Blue Sky. We're over on Threads, Instagram, Facebook as well. Like and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Share our YouTube channel with other folks in your network. We'd love to have them on. So that being said, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, got more of our pregame preview show coming your way. All right, we are back with our good friend Evan Winter from A to Z Sports, A2Zsports.com. Fantastic website, great sports content. And as we're moving along with this pregame preview show here, Bucky Irving this past week, he actually touched the ball 29 times. I saw that stat. I was absolutely floored by it. He's averaging 23.3 yards per touch here after 3 weeks. I mean, he caught all 14 targets that have come his way this season, and he may even catch more balls this week. As we know, Mike Evans is going to be sidelined for the next few weeks here. I do wonder, Evan, how much of his durability is going to hold up from a long-term perspective. Do I think he's going to be okay this week? Yes. But, could it mean something? Could the durability situation mean something for this week 4 matchup against the Eagles? That's something I'm wondering. So what should us Eagles fans be looking for in terms of, I think, any under the radar offensive play this week if the Bucs decide to make some offensive adjustments to the scheming, if they do so at all, based on Mike Evans not being there and just some of the injury issues and situations that have come up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so they might get Chris Godwin back this week. So now, granted, he'll be on a snap count. I would be shocked if he goes out there at full go, right?
Yeah.
But Emeka Egbuka was on a snap count last week, and he still led the team in catches and yards, and that was after Mike Evans went out.
What a wide receiver he's been, man
just phenomenal,
unreal,
absolutely phenomenal. But so in terms of durability, he'll be fine. So yeah, last week. Now I will say this: over the first 3 weeks, the split in usage between him and Rachaad White has been interesting. A lot of people thought Rachaad White would have had a little bit more play, but the Bucs are never worried about plugging in Rachaad White whenever they need to. When a Bucky needs a breather, if he's looking like he's hampered a little bit, whatever it might be, they no hesitation putting Rachaad White into the game, and you can put him in at any moment of the game because he's honestly, if he's not the NFL's best pass protector at running back, he is definitely top 5. So you put him in any situation, he's going to be okay. You don't have to worry about him missing a blitz, blah, 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 blah. So in terms of durability, he'll be fine. If they ever feel like they're overworking him, again, they'll just plug Rachaad in. And then they've got Sean Tucker at running back 3, who is pretty damn good himself. Now he doesn't have the he doesn't have the resume. He doesn't have, the consistency over time, but he's made plenty of plays. So yeah, he'll be fine overall. In terms of adjustments, it's going to be interesting. It all depends. And I mentioned Chris Godwin. Tristan Wirfs might come back this week too. So if that happens, this Bucs offensive line that has just been shuffled around like crazy over the first 3 weeks will all of a sudden start to go back to normal. Graham Barton will most likely go back to center. Ben Bredesen will most likely shift back over to left guard. And then you can just plug Elijah Klein in at right guard. And then you got Charlie Heck at right tackle while Luke Gedeke is out. So that will allow some normalcy, at least on the left side of the line. And in terms of adjustments, if that does happen, I'm running off Tristan Wirfs every time. This Eagles run defense is not great. You can run on the Eagles. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
The Chiefs didn't, but as we're seeing, the Chiefs are just a catastrophe.
They're running attack.
Yeah, exactly. Their rushing attack is a catastrophe right now, but the Cowboys ran on them. And then obviously, the Rams were able to run on them too. So the Bucs, if Tristan Wirfs does come in, I'm rolling out to the left. I'm running to the left. I'm doing all that stuff. So those would be some adjustments. And then on top of that, I would expect to see them sprinkle in Rachaad White a lot more this week, though, just because he has that in between the tackles power. Bucky's pretty good in between the tackles, but he's more shifty. Obviously, that's his strength. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we see a nice little uptick in some Rachaad White usage this week, a lot like they did in Houston, where they really got the power game going against a really aggressive Houston front. And that really helped open, the door to the victory.
Got to keep our eyes on Rachaad White, Eagles Nation. I think Evan's on to something there for sure. Just a couple more topics, buddy, before I let you go here. And we got to get into the tush push because it seems like that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been that one team that has found some consistency in stopping the tush push over the past couple seasons. It's amazing. It's like, can it be stopped? It's like, yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been able to do it a number of times, especially down at Raymond James Stadium. I loved what Todd Bowles said this past week about the tush push as well. I'm not sure what it is. They've certainly had an ingredient to make some key stops defending the tush push over these years here. First, do you think they're going to be able to continue to do so this week? And how do you think they are going to continue to go about trying to stop the tush push here?
I mean, if they've got Vita Vea on the field, they've always got a chance.
Oh, there you go.
And yeah, honestly, I think that's the key ingredient. I mean, that dude is just unreal. Anybody who's ever watched even a handful of his snaps, and you're not a Bucs fan, I mean, like I'm talking about people in general, like if someone has even just watched a handful of his snaps, they will understand why he is just so heralded and just why, not only people in Tampa Bay, but people who follow the sport closely just love him. I mean, he's so much fun to watch, and he will absolutely wreck you at any point in time. So I think Vita Vea has a lot to do with it. And then they've just got really aggressive linebackers who like to shoot the gaps. And then they also have one thing I forgot to mention about their secondary is they are more than willing to come up and hit you and play in the run and stuff like that. So I think it's a combination of Vita Vea and then just a hard-nosed Todd Bowles defense. I know that's kind of abstract, but when it comes to stopping the tush push, there is no formula. So we all got to get a little bit abstract ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, buddy. Before I let you go, as we do on all of our opposition territory shows and pregame preview shows, talk about the one thing each team is going to need to hit on for a win this week. So start us off with the one thing the Bucs are going to need to hit on for a win against this week, or against the Philadelphia Eagles this week. What's that one thing?
They've got to get home with 4. They have to get home with 4 guys. Sure, the Bucs are third in the NFL, or sorry, second in the NFL right now with like a 47% pressure rate.
Yeah.
Second or third, either way, they're in the top 3. But they're also 7th highest blitz rate. And all of their sacks, except for 1, have come off of a blitz so far this season. 2. Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby are their only natural pass rushers who have gotten pressure. So they've got to get home with 4 because obviously Jalen Hurts, as great as he is, he's not the best against pressure. No quarterback is. That's not a slight. But Jalen Hurts has his specific struggles against pressure. And then what that will also do is it'll allow that secondary to mix and match, to hide some coverages. The Bucs aren't sending an extra guy, so they don't need somebody to automatically go fill that space, right?
Yeah.
So getting home with 4 and then being able to just let the secondary do its thing with the extra 7, the Bucs have to do that. It's been a problem since Todd Bowles has been here, except for maybe 2019, and that's when Shaq Barrett went off for 19 and a half sacks. But for whatever reason, they just struggle to get home. And I'm not talking about pressure. They can get pressure with 4, but they have to get home. They have to sack the quarterback with 4 guys. They have to create negative plays with 4 guys. And if they can't do that, then they're going to have some trouble on defense.
Eagles tend to do that as well. I mean, seriously, it's a similar situation. Eagles haven't been able to get home a lot, especially this season. Not too many sacks on the year. On the opposite side of things here, Evan, what's the one thing the Eagles are going to need to hit on for a win this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
They got to run the ball. Tampa Bay's got a really good run defense, but they can be run on from time to time. And we saw last week Saquon struggled against the Rams early on, 26-7. It bled over real quick. So as good as Jalen is, no quarterback in this league can do it by himself. How Baker did it last week behind the offensive line and no running game, I don't know. And that's just why Baker's almost in the MVP conversation. But yeah, they've got to be able to run the ball. And I'm not trying to be, your curmudgeon 1960s, run 3 yards in a cloud of dust, run the damn ball, matriculate. Right. I'm not trying to be like that, but they've got to run the ball. Saquon's got to get going. Otherwise, the Bucs are not going to have any problem coming after them if they go one-dimensional.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Again, folks, Evan Winter from A to Z Sports, atozsports.com. It is always great talking to you, my friend. Love doing our pregame preview shows with you. Come back, join us again. I'd love to have you on the show down the road, my friend.
Always, man. Always.